So we will
This
call
conference
our
will
meeting
now
to
be
order
recorded.
at 7. Now say it. Oh, we will call our meeting to order at 7 o'clock with quorum present. All right. Any items of community interest? Let's see. I don't think there's anything for today. So we will discuss, consider, and act to approve the minute meetings from last week.
I have one thing that I wanted to discuss. It's on the agenda item 3.3 on that page, and it was the 9 future agenda items. The relocation of volleyball courts didn't get put on this coming agenda. Neither did the tennis court project, and the only thing that did was the adopt a park. So we'll just okay. And then on 8C, we discussed adding additional trash cans and receptacles. It needs to be on the next cell. On 8B, we suggested that we request the city council that the gate at the fire station will remain unlocked. Since we had that meeting, I've talked to Kurt, the fire marshal, and it isn't the gates at the fire station, it's gates down by the field. Is that correct? Whoever was.
That's correct.
Okay, all of that is for HSA, and we need to contact them directly.
So I found a piece of the contract.
So we need to either approve or disapprove of the minutes from last week before we go into topic discussion. Sorry.
So I just wanted to say that I have something to back that up too.
This is Barbara. I move that we accept the minutes with the changes as noted.
I second. Well, they weren't listed on the agenda for tonight, so we want to list them on the agenda for the next after tonight.
I believe what she's saying is that the volleyball courts actually, although they're not a specific line item, would go under, we can still talk about it under the park too, as well as the tennis court. But my question was about 8C, or sorry, did we not request, or was David gonna, it's not an action item. I thought David was gonna do that for us, maybe? Is that how that went? Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an action item from us. Okay. So Barbara motioned and Cindy, I believe, seconded. All right, everyone approved?
Approved.
No one opposed? All right, approved the minutes from last meeting. All right. Okay, we've got the June financial report now to look at. Are there any major things we should note on there, Katrina, or are we still sort of not moving a lot? I'm just talking about the financial report. I'm still on 3. I'm sorry, on 4. Sorry. 4A, just the June financial report. I didn't know if anything had changed, money had changed hands. We didn't spend any, like the t-shirts or anything, haven't been purchased. Okay.
Where's the yoga and Tai Chi? Is that not noted on the expenses? I know we had a brief conversation about this last month and still trying to get the word out, but there's still expenses there and maybe not the revenue we were hoping for.
Okay.
So I see it going out. Right. So 290 in, 280 out. Am I reading that right?
So
Is it
what is the
possible to have a-
290 income?
So what's the expense includes yoga and Tai Chi instructor as well as the flag purchase, correct? Other stuff, okay. Fair enough.
Can we have a couple subset lines there showing in the future reports with Tai Chi and yoga separate so we can have a clear depiction of that?
Just to be clear on this, just because we talked about it last month, I was just curious where it was showing up in the budget. I'm not,
Yeah.
the fact that it's basically breaking even and that fund doesn't really warrant extra attention to it in multiple items, just in my opinion, so.
How about we save that item for the next?
Yeah.
Could I ask one question though? Because we don't pay the yoga instructor and the Tai Chi instructor monthly, do we? Not monthly, that's what I thought. So that monthly amount is not in there. We kind of pay them for a period of time.
Correct.
A contract, yeah. Yeah.
This is Cindy. I'd like to approve the financial report. I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report.
Right, Cindy motions to approve the
I'll second
financial
that.
report for June, and Matt seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we approve those financial reports. Okay. Now, this is a big topic. We're going to discuss, consider, and act on recommendations of the Park and Recreation budget to City Council. Could I actually just go to, can we go to 5 and 6? Because there's a board member who I believe will be coming, and I would like that particular member to be able to partake in the discussions if he makes it. Does that make sense? Just kind of circle back to it if we could just put that one on hold for a quick second. Everybody okay? Okay. All right, so 5A, purchase of park board shirts for new board members. So we usually need to, for the newer members, we have these white sort of like this park board shirt that says Hazlet. They're real fun. So we just need to motion to approve to purchase you one so that when you're working our events, you have them, correct? Yeah, we can maybe get it from Erica. So Erica, Matt, Chris, and that should be good for now.
This is Barbara. I move that we purchase 3 additional shirts for the new park board members.
I second.
We did $1. All right, motion to approve 3 park board member shirts for our event was made by Barbara, seconded by Cindy. No, it seems silly for y'all to approve, but all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? All right, perfect.
I'd like to also order their jackets, because those come in really handy at the Christmas in the park.
That would fall under the same shirt jacket, correct? They're not around anymore. Do we want to get new ones, or can we still get those? Oh, okay. I was like, I feel like mine has a hood. Maybe I'm wrong. I like that one.
So do you need a separate motion for that?
All right, so I imagine if y'all want to try that on and get a feel for your size, then let her know when you go up. All right. 6A, review the sample adoptive park program. It's going to be on page 31 here if you've got a packet.
This is Cindy. I read through this and I think it sounds like a really, really good idea. There's some things in it that I'm not sure that HASLUT fits into exactly, because we don't have like a park director. I don't know whether a park board member would oversee it, or if the city, because we don't have a division or a recreational thing.
Right. We have
Have we had a lot of interest from the community asking about something like this? Oh, okay. Just asking.
well, trash.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see us rewrite this, maybe table this until the next meeting, but rewrite this and keep in mind that we don't have some of these elements in it. But if we made a packet and approached every church and every school in our city limits, I would hope that we could get at least one volunteer per month to come in and do something in Haslett. And if we each took one, to oversee, because they're going to, in this scenario, they have to sign waivers so that there's no, liability for the city and no liability to their leadership either, or us. But we would need somebody for them to check in with and kind of oversee a little bit of what they're going to do. And I think for the most part, we've had several churches come sparingly, randomly. But if we scheduled it, maybe we'd get a little bit more participation.
I would even like to suggest that instead of having somebody sign up for a month, because it's like if you're, well, we could, but the trash problem could potentially every weekend. And so if we had somebody sign up for the first week recurring for 3 months, they'd come once a month for 3 months or so. The time limit, could be what they want, but have, the first week of the month, the second week of the month, and somebody different each of the weeks of the month. And then if we have 5 weeks, then that week maybe doesn't get covered.
Did I hear you saying you're interested?
I would be happy to oversee a week.
David, have you looked at any of these things? I mean, I don't want to have people signing up for stuff that they shouldn't be doing or you don't need them to do, or, what's most helpful to y'all?
Well, of course, the trash one is probably the most important, but most of these are not too bad. Only one we probably wouldn't want to get too involved in is tree trimming and stuff, because that, starts getting into possible power tools and things. But a lot of the other things, going along the creek, helping clean out, the channels, stuff like that, those are all fairly easy. A few shovels, things like that. So it's not something that would be hard, nor would it be something that would take a lot of, oversight either.
Well, and it might be nice to require each group to send a representative that would be with the group that comes out to kind of have a little orientation or training for, how to clean out the little drainage area down there.
Well, that's what most of these did have. They have a spot in here that talks about, scheduling a first time at least meeting where you would kind of go over, okay, here's the stuff, here's what you need, here's how you do this. But you kind of give them the heads up over the first time, and then they kind of can, from that point, once they've learned, then they keep coming back and do it on their own.
I have a technical question. Since these are borrowed from a city, do we have access to copy them, or are we just looking at them as reference and we need to make up our own liability waivers? Okay. We'd have to modify it to fit our city and then do we have a lawyer on staff? Okay, just have them look at it.
Yep, we sure do.
Yes. And I don't mind doing that. So do we want to just kind of look this and fine tune it and maybe bring back our bulleted points to put into a list for the next week? Fellow board members, would anyone like to tackle it right now or sort of?
I wouldn't mind editing it if Katrina can share the file.
And I've spoken with some other park boards that are close to us, and they're always willing to help if I have questions. So you may even just call them and they could send you a PDF and make whatever edits are applicable to us.
So,
So hospitals, churches, if anyone knows of any other organizations.
I'd like to volunteer to co-chair or
Perfect.
bring something.
All right, so Cindy and Barbara are going to work on that for us. Anything?
and so if anybody has ideas, please either text or email to me or Cindy, or both might be good. Thank you.
Maybe when we reach out to I'm foreshadowing here, to the soccer association, we could let them know that we would love for them to adopt the weekend. All right, we'll just move through these a little bit. I don't know that we have a whole lot to do, but we will talk about the egg hunt. Kind of nothing really big on that right now.
Before we pass it up, do we know if the eggs still cost the same as they did 3 years ago? Just
Do we still have eggs?
And we've always,
They had a night.
well, just because we're gonna be talking about the budget shortly, and we've always increased it to however many
1,000.
years we've had it,
Mhm.
that many eggs, so, okay, thank
All right, so that's a good point. We're going to be going over the budget, so we'll just briefly run through the items. So Easter egg hunt expenses would be, just for knowledge reference point, Easter eggs really is the biggest one, and a DJ that we sort of hire out. So, but nothing to do for that right now. It's not till next. Oh, yeah.
you. Do we know what date Easter is next year?
Looks like according to Apple Calendar, April 17th.
This is Cindy, I'd like to suggest the 9th.
I agree. I like the 9th.
All right. I have no preference.
Do I-
Everyone okay with putting in the 9th and getting flyers made up? All right, so we will pick the April 9th as our date for Easter next year. And then Wild West Fest, are we kind of looking at dates around that as well? Okay. We want to ask for a couple of different dates and see which one, or just wait till they give us a May, April.
Yeah, it's kind of because they've got so many others, you kind of got to pick between the ones that they have available.
All right, well, we'll just wait on that a little bit. It's kind of early, I guess. And then Memorial Day celebration. Hopefully it won't have to be online this time. We can go back to an in-person celebration. Fireworks, Independence Day. Go ahead.
And it will be on Memorial Day.
Correct. And it will actually be on Memorial Day. And then I know we just passed fireworks, but hopefully next year it will be in person again. And this 2022 is going to be, the 4th is on a Monday. So I don't know, David, you usually like to do the Friday before when you have staff, is that right? Okay. And then our movie in the park, there's a flyer in your packet. It will be on September 17th. This is a really good first park board member volunteer opportunity because it's not a lot of work. We'll have somebody come and set up the movie, and we'll have In-N-Out passing out burgers. Are we gonna do popcorn? Is that considered a conflict with In-N-Out? Okay. Okay. So we'll have In-N-Out, picnic blanket, and a movie. All right. And that's going to be September 17th. National Night Out is going to be October 5th. And there will be fireworks at the end of that, sort of duskish. Do we have all that worked out where it's going to be? David, do they know where they're going to shoot them off from? Or okay, well, we'll just wait.
And yeah, that
That'll be
we've got options that should work. We hope.
Do we have a flyer for that? 'Cause just because we're gonna have the fireworks, I think that's gonna be a pretty big deal, and I'd like to see us. Well, that's the sponsor sheet.
Can we work on do we need something that says, hey, come and watch the fireworks? Okay. Something, yeah, like this movie in the park. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then what hours do we need to run our little table? 6 to 8. I'm happy to do 6 to 7 and start off. I don't know if this is too early for y'all to commit to a top or bottom half, but I know we're all. I mean, I'll be there. So, anybody want to commit to 1 hour or the other?
That's another reason I wanted to be sure that they knew that there's fireworks, because if this ends at 8, they're going to have an hour to kill before it's dark. So, okay. Okay. But they need to hang around and not.
David had,
I trust you. But yeah, as long as we let them know, because some people who have kids might come early instead of towards the end of it if they're knowing they're going to have to be there for 2 hours. So if I were just bringing my small kids, I would just personally come at 7. Okay, perfect. And then the Hazlitt Hustle 5K and Fun Run is going to be October the 16th. And we ordered shirts last time, I believe. Is that right? We have the shirts. What else do we need to tackle today? Okay. I feel like that sounds expensive. You know the prices? I mean, it's not really a big money-making event anyway. It's more of a community event, and the dry fit obviously are more appropriate. I don't know if Chris or Matt, if we've had a chance to ask you if y'all are runners. Okay, well.
No, but I do notice, I guess, the kids like dry fit, so I don't know if we can do maybe kids the dry fit. Most of the runners I see use dry fit. I don't know. It's kind of a, yeah.
I would suggest that we do cotton.
I would suggest cotton.
That could be a little as appropriately as possible. We don't always have the greatest amount of turnout, and so I think investing more in a shirt when people aren't in it for the shirt, they're just in it to go for a run and have fun. And if they're actually a real runner, in my opinion, they're going to wear their own clothes anyway. So.
Do we need a motion or just a consent? I'll make a motion to go with the cotton.
I'll second it.
Anyone opposed? All right, everyone agrees. Cotton it is.
I did want to ask if the chip timers and all that cost more this time than it did the last time we did the hustle. And we can look into that. I know, I knew that we've already contracted them, so were they more expensive than the last time we had the hustle?
Yeah, he gave us a better, it was less than it was the time before. Yeah,
Excellent.
it
Okay,
was
Yeah, because we
cheaper.
got that new guy, remember? And then he couldn't do it because we had to cancel.
okay. Just, again, because the budget coming up.
All right, so then for Christmas in the Park, we have a flyer here, all put together. Snow slide, reindeer, cookie decorating, snow globe, Santa, tree lighting. Okay. Maybe 30.
When we charge 50, do we have less of a turnout? No. I mean, $50 isn't that much for a company anyway, so I would like to suggest that maybe we begin to standardize that and have a $50 vendor registration fee for all of our events.
We want to step it up and say 40 this year, and then next year everyone's 50, since we were only 25 last year. I don't know if somebody only. We didn't charge anything?
No, we didn't have it.
Oh, sorry. The year before, I just am thinking about maybe a smaller business, that like a woman who sews, I don't know, those neck scarves, right? So if she's expecting to pay 25 and then all of a sudden it's 50, she might not come. But if it's 25 and then it's 40, she might realize that it's creeping up and then expect the 50 the next year. I don't know. I'm thinking about the small business, not the big food vendor. So.
Well, and I think this year's going to be a crapshoot anyway, because businesses did go under, and a lot of corporations don't have the funds available to donate like they did in the past. So I think being uniform at $50 is a good idea. It's really not that much.
I move that we standardize our vendor registration fee at $50 for all of our Hazlet Parks Board sponsored events.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? All right, nobody's opposed. We will make it $50. And then we have a flyer for the yoga, Hazlet Yoga. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 to 7, cost $5 a session. And Tai
What-
Chi as well. Do we have any?
Where can I find this online? So I feel like I put a thing out on Facebook, and I just would love to link to something that is this, not just, yeah, just because after a conversation last week, it's like, hey, if you're interested, you're just trying to, it'll directly link to this flyer.
They're on there. You just have to look for them. I can fix it so that it's easier to find.
Flyer is on.
What I want to,
I'll bring it to the front so you can find it really easy.
Okay.
I see what you're
what
saying.
I'd like to do is say, hey,
Post something that says click
community
here.
page, right? You say exactly. So when you click on the link, you don't just go to a page and you got to figure out why to just click here. It just pops up.
On the Hazlet.org page.
But if I navigate there, it's a unique URL I can copy and okay, that's fun.
And I am happy to report that more people are coming back. So that's good.
Hard to advertise.
There are multiple days that we don't get to have it. Yeah.
I have a question. I noticed on the Hazlet yoga page, it says $5 and that's it. On the Tai Chi, it charges extra for those who do not live directly in Hazlet.
That was kind of created by the instructor, but it also has been waived multiple. So it's basically, and I'll ask him about that specifically because it needs to be one way or the other. And all he's charging is $5.
Well, and it's not uncommon though. Like if I go to and sign up for any event in Keller or Roanoke or whatever, I'm going to pay more than the residents, and so I think that's a good thing to have in place. So I would even like to suggest that we do the same for Hazlet Yoga.
And the only reason I'm not jumping on board is because it's such a loosely run thing that I don't want to ask people where they're from. They come because they want to.
But I see what Barbara's saying. Even if we said $5 for this class, $6 if you're not a resident, and they don't ever pay the $6, at least we're advertising that being a resident in Hazlet gives you $1 discount. And whether they ever pay it or not is, I mean, we're not going to regulate it, right? But at least if we say $5 for residents, $6 for non-residents, then people feel like they can come. And if they're willfully giving the extra dollar, we're not going to beat them down at the door for their dollar. But, and I don't know what a normal price is. So to me, $5 or $6 is fair. But it's just a difference because I pay my taxes in Hazlet. Hazlet is sponsoring them. We're as the city, we're paying for these people to come. So now I feel like my money that I'm paying to I've never even been to one of these classes. I'm so sorry to whoever the instructor is. But my point is like, because I pay taxes, it's kind of like Birdville ISD, right? I pay for Birdville ISD. So when they gave my kids a Chromebook and I remote learned my children, it was awesome because I felt like I was using my tax dollars.
And I'm perfect. I understand it completely because my kids paid extra to play sports earlier when Hazlet didn't have them.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't want me to be the sheriff at
No,
the door,
no.
that's fine with me.
But I mean, I don't know. Is $5 or $6 fair for that? I feel like 5
Absolutely.
or 10. I feel like 5 to 10 is a big jump. But
Are we at capacity?
No.
no.
Okay, so we got a fixed cost. Why are we discouraging people from coming? So I get your point.
No, right.
Hey, you get a benefit. You could flip that around and say, yeah, we really don't want you here. That's why we're charging you more.
I think it's just setting a
Well,
precedent.
our
because-
city, our city proper is really growing,
Right.
so that's an issue as well. And so we have to, we want to set it up now that it's beginning to grow, so that we don't have to change it after. It would be harder to change later. And I think asking non-Hazlet residents to pay an extra $1, whether they pay it or not is up to them, but you know, I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I pay a lot more than that when I go to those other cities.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm either way. You have a lot of folks there from out of Hazlet. Are you going to discourage them? I'm not.
I
I'm
don't think
not
a
heavy one
dollar is
way or
going to
another.
discourage them.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't. I wouldn't be discouraged by $1. I'm not discouraged by paying an extra $10 when I go, if it's something I want to do.
Well, it's just that the other thing is that so many of the events that Hazlet has are open to everyone. And there aren't restrictions on whether you live in Hazlet or not live in Hazlet. And I think that's part of the charm of Hazlet, is that here we are. So.
I don't, this is recorded, right? So people are going to hear it. I don't see why there's a problem with listing $5 or $6 and advising the instructor that differentiating is not important. Collect your $5. Don't ask for $6. But if we put it on the flyer, then it looks like when the time comes for us to enforce it. Yes, it wasn't enforced before, but that was always the rule. We went on an honor system. Because what happens when we get to 500 and there's no room? And then we're kicking people out who live in Hazlet who aren't going to be able to come? I mean, I'm saying in 15 or 20 years, right? And then now we have 100 people coming to yoga. Half of them don't live in Hazlet, and people aren't getting in for anyway.
Hopefully by that point, we have a recreation building and people that can coordinate that,
that's-
and they can stand at the door and check their driver's licenses.
All right, this is Barbara. I'll just make it into a motion. I move that we work with the instructors for yoga and Tai Chi to standardize the fees so that it's, the cost is $5 per session for resident and $6 for those outside.
Who
Okay.
collects the money for yoga from the yoga?
But the
So why don't we do that for Tai Chi? Why don't we just have like a lockbox? But that doesn't mean we can't change it. Because we're the city, right? So if we're giving him permission to do something on our facilities. Okay, got it.
All right, so motion number 1, for Hazlet Yoga, that we advertise the cost as $5 per session for, for Hazlet residents and $6 for non-residents.
Anybody else agree with that? Seconding the motion? Listen, I'll second the motion. I second that motion. Guess we'll go through and take an individual. It doesn't look as easy this time. All right, Matt,
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Cindy? Barbara's a yes. Chris? And Garrett?
No.
Yep. All right, we'll just vote on it next time. How's that?
Well, doesn't that mean it did not pass?
It did not pass, correct. Motion
Okay.
did not pass.
No.
All right. Anything else on Tai Chi or yoga? And just to be clear, so it's $5 for residents, $10 for non-residents for Tai Chi, but it's $5 for everyone in yoga. Okay. And how do we know, because now I'm curious, how do we know when they're paying 10 or whether they're paying 5? Because I think that should be enforced. How does that even work? Like, how is that fair or legal, appropriate? Okay. So can we look into, as a board, making that different? Because that doesn't seem to make sense. And I guess I
Is
knew
this
that was the case before, but I didn't realize.
is this a problem? I mean, is this truly a problem, or are we just digging into things that really no one's really complained about? Because I don't want to. Yeah.
Well, the only thing is that it does look bad if there's no paper trail documentation for funding. I mean, that's poor accounting. And that's not something I would want our city to
Are
ever have
we-
our finger pointed at.
Is city money going out to this guy or
Yes.
no?
We pay him for instruction.
Yeah, we pay him. Perfect. Awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds good. So we're gonna put
I
that as
think
a
reviewing
future
it.
agenda item, reviewing contracts of the Tai Chi and yoga, how we're paying them.
Yeah, my understanding when y'all said he came to us was that he maybe took the money out, or we weren't directly paying him, and then honor system for him to give back something. So, yeah, we can. That's yeah. Okay. At least reviewing the contract makes sense.
And you may be right. It may be that no one's really going and there's only 3 people anyway, and it's not, I mean, I don't know. Cindy would be our best. Cindy would be our best representation of that to let us know how that's going. All right, so let's backtrack. We're going back, Garrick, to 4B. And we need to motion and make this budget for city council for next year. So this is a large item here. That would be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, going over this with Marcy and all, basically what she did was went back to your previous year when we actually did stuff, brought all those numbers forward, and put those numbers back in to be reused again for the upcoming budget. So only if you kind of see something that you think, wow, man, maybe we're really too short on that, because it should be, for most of these, should be fairly close. There was a couple of them, like the funding that comes in for the water bills, because we're getting more people, more houses, that she went ahead and bumped that to reflect that. But for the most part, everything else, she pretty much held the same, unless you think your income's going to be higher or your expenses are going to be somehow higher. That's kind of what she thought was, that was a good place to kind of work from.
I just wanted to point, and we have a lot of new people on the board, and so on this page 12 across the top, I just want to point out that you can see what our budget was for 2018 and 2019 and 2020. So we had requested a pretty significant increase for 2020 that we didn't get to spend, because we knew we had some significant increases for our fireworks, for the rodeo, for several things that we had increased the line items significantly. Well, like Wild West Fest, you can see, we budgeted $20,000. So we haven't worked this new budget yet, and so I just kind of wanted to point that out, that from 2018, when you compare that, we have, because of our growth, we've had a nice increase, and I'm unless we find something that really needs to be increased, I suggest that we try to utilize a budget that we had requested that we haven't gotten to work through yet.
And I actually have those numbers, and so I would like to encourage the board to request and got denied from before, because we've already spent an hour discussing this 2 years ago. We asked the board, the city council, and they said no. So, for example, on Christmas in the Christmas in the Park, which is account 0478501000, this packet, page 17. We asked for $20,000. We asked to increase our budget from 15 to 20,000 after we sat and talked about it, and they said no. So she's put in the 15,000 again. I'd like to go ahead and ask to up that. For Easter, we asked for 3,500. Eggs were 2,400. DJ was 500. Prizes were 125. Bunny was 50, and then we had 150. And in 2018-19, we had 2,000. For the 2019-20, we had decided as a board to increase that $500 to accommodate extra expenses. They said no.
I'm sorry, so the Easter egg hunt would go from 3,000 to 3,500?
That's what we asked for. Remember, those of us that were here.
Right, and
Eric,
I'm
I believe you were
just
here
go
too.
over those items.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
trying
so
to
sorry.
understand
Yeah,
everything
so-
you're saying.
Okay, let me start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So from I just have our previous request And if anyone else has anything to contribute, please let me know. But on the first movie licensing, the first item that we changed, let me just jump to that. So if we go over each one, starting on page 13 of this packet, the interest income, kind of what it is, we can't really see. The optional water bill was changed here as of an increased dollar. The Tai Chi and yoga classes were at 3,500. We didn't make any changes to that. That seems appropriate. Money that we paid to Tai Chi yoga instructors throughout the course of the year comes out to be about 3,500. Minus whatever monies we get in. I don't think that that's changed. We're not paying them any different. And we don't have their contractors. And then the money's collected for the brick. It's at 50, same. That's kind of hit or miss. Money brings that in. Money expected from sponsorship. 2,300. I don't even know where that comes from. Where does that line come from? And then it says, oh, I'm sorry. I'm on Easter egg hunt. I skipped to the description. I apologize. And so on our, when we made changes last year, 2 years ago, we had listed out each of those items. Oh, I'm on revenue. I do. I'm so sorry. So those are all of our revenue. I was thinking that was. So these are all the monies that are coming in from Movie in the Park. We pay the sponsor, Haslett Hustle, Old West Fest, vendor fees, Independence Day. Yeah, page 17 would be our. So the local entertainment, the movie licensing, the outdoor permissions, we have to have like the radio station fees and the licensing fees. That's where all that money comes from. And we'll list it out there. And so 2250, I think we agreed that would, there weren't too many big changes from the year before. I'm hoping that we're not anticipating have the insight cost. All right. Under Christmas in the Park, we had all those things that are listed there. Santa, portable toilets, we have to get light towers, etc. And from our budgeting from last year when we looked at our expenses, we had asked them to increase that to $20,000 because the snow slide price had gone up. And lots of things had changed. So we said, hey, can we get $5,000 more? So as a park board, we agreed to increase that request. And the city council said no. Do we want to ask for that more again?
Is that it?
Do we have to make a
Those two items?
We have to make a motion for that?
Can you maybe go through all of it? So big picture
Yeah,
from,
I agree.
you're comparing from 19 to 20, or from 19 to 22. It's up like 15%, right?
Sure.
So we're obviously getting more money in some places. So maybe where you think it ought to be increased, a general idea on what we would do with it, or what else has gone
right.
up, and
So
stuff
this-
like that.
Yeah, so the snow slide, for that one, I remember we had spent, right, I want to say it was $14,445. That's what I have in my note, but it's not very clear here. And we were getting the snow globe. The snow slide, actually, that we had rented before is very expensive. And so this year we went with just blowing ice and building our own slide with hay bales because it's like $1,000 cheaper. And then you don't get staff to run the big one. And so we kind of, like, there's just different prices. And the children seem to really enjoy the one that we bring in, and it's metal and they slide down. But we don't have the money for that or the staffing for that. So if we had more money in that budget line, there's other things I believe that we had looked at a couple years ago. You know, we have the snow globe that comes and you take pictures inside of it. I believe that's around 2,000. If I'm right or wrong, I don't know. Katrina, it seems 1,350. where are we at right now for Christmas in the Park? What's our amount that we have spent? Okay. We get the train. Okay. Right. So there's a train that we get for Christmas in the Park where we pay a gentleman to come out with his wife and they do face painting in the train. There's a rock climbing activity that we've paid for in the past where children don't have to pay, they just come and climb. There's just other things that we had wanted to do and would wish we would have had more money. So we wanted to increase that to 20,000 to grow the event. Right. Then I guess I just want to know, do we need to say each individual or sort of go through them all and? Okay. So my suggestion was just to kind of go back to our old numbers that we've kind of deliberated before. I apologize to you that weren't part of the deliberation. So just let me know where to.
I guess when you say go back to the old numbers, we have an increase. So are you saying roll back other thing?
No, what happened was 2 years ago, we looked at the budget, we sat here for like an hour, and we said, we need more money here, here, and here, 3 hours. We send it to city council, and city council said, sorry, we're not gonna approve any of your changes. So the numbers you're looking at on this packet are the numbers that were from 2018.
gotcha.
But I happen to have the other numbers that got rejected handwritten from my council meeting from
This has,
2
this
years ago
signed.
that were
for us.
approved.
So,
For the 2022 year, yeah. And then when we looked at the Easter egg hunt, which is the next one there, the bunny costume, I believe that was 150. Easter eggs were 2,400 last year. We usually add 100. We add 100 for every year that we've been doing it, so we should be at what, 2,200?
I think we added, we had
22,000.
1,000.
So we're at 22,000 now for the next
Right.
year. So we'll be needing to order 22,000 eggs to put out for the kids to play. And that was 2 years ago at $2,400 for that many eggs. So adding another 1,000 is going to put it up again. Then we usually have a DJ there, but I think that might come out of a different fund. Is that right? Does the DJ come out of? If we don't have enough money, then the DJ comes out of that. It's $500. We've done prizes before for the Easter egg hunt. That was about $125. So we had asked to increase that to $3,500, just to accommodate for the increased pricing in the eggs and the more eggs, the additional eggs to purchase. And then we've been really lucky for the movie in the park because we've been getting a sponsor for that. And so we haven't really needed to change that budget line. That's usually enough to cover, especially if we're not doing popcorn. Just the screen rental and the licensing, all that stuff that goes along. I think the licensing comes out of it. At any rate, no change to that. And then for city signs and decorations, we had asked for an increase from 12,000 to 15,000, and it looks like they did approve that, so we can leave that one. And then advertising was at 2,000. Equipment maintenance and repair, we had that at 1,500, and we just kind of always ask David what he wants us to do there. Do we need more than that? You said no 2 years ago, but a lot has changed.
Well, and kind of keeping in mind that we are going to be asking you to move the volleyball court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this will, I'm trying to think all the different things they have. It's anything, their microphones, their speakers, their shelving, any of that stuff in car? No. This is just for their equipment stuff, their actual pieces of stuff that they own. And I believe we should still be pretty good because we haven't really had to do too much to their stuff. All the repairs on Christmas stuff, that's out of Christmas, not out of this. So, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like, I mean, because like right now there are, I think, what, 2 or 3 of the ice chests probably could use replacing. But I mean, we're talking,
But
60.
1,500 is enough.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we should be good.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave that one there. And then Wild West Fest, we had a little bit of discussion about that, and just, what did I skip? Oh, I'm
There's-
going through the packet, sorry.
Well, and
I'm going
this,
through the budget packet that Katrina gave us. I'm on page 19.
Barbara, get that bottom.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just using a different one. And just for reference, the account exchange in 16-17 for Wild West Fest was 43,500. In 17-18, it was 40,900. In 18-19, it went down to 39,500. And then, of course, 19-20 was. And we're still at 40,000, and that's gonna include. Why does it say transfer to Memorial Fund for Gold Star on that? On page 19?
That was what we thought.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that's just gonna be striked out. So no transfer to. So we've got the rodeo, that's not right. Oh, yeah. The rodeo's at 10,500, up from 8,000 from before. Stage
So what does
rental.
the rodeo entail? What's all involved in the rodeo?
So the rodeo is an interesting. So the rodeo is a rodeo. So they come out bull riding, barrel race. The one where they catch the calves. Well, you.
For that item there, for the, you asked about the 10.5, that's basically what we pay to Kelly to run the event. The event that Shoot to Production, sorry. What he does is the bull riding, the calf scramble, the mutton busting, and then he provides the arena. Does he do bleachers too, or do we?
No, he brings the bleachers, the arena and all, but that's under the actual arena equipment. But he also provides, usually at least 3 entertainment things. He's had everything from a bullwhip guy to, and he brings the little girl that does the national anthem for him. He brings a few little small acts that, are in the arena for 10, 15 minutes that he brings along with his stuff.
The rodeo clown. I mean, it's a really great show. It really is. It's just expensive.
And that's what I was wondering. Is it like a competition? Is there an actual? Are they competing for something? Oh, okay.
Invitation. It's an invitational.
Well, I think if you're asking about the contestants, I think they're actually, aren't they earning points for their?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
For their association, and they come
it's
by.
a senior bull riding association that come and participate. I don't know how that all works, but they're competing for a big year, so they're earning points. Well,
Yes.
for us, it's just
He
yeah.
brings
So
the
do we
riders.
do we
The company
charge?
brings the riders.
Do we charge?
Oh. Depends on the year.
Depends on the year.
You'll notice in the revenue.
And that's where the revenue would come from. And that's what I'm trying to understand.
It's not a
I'm-
revenue producing event. We've never made money on this event ever. I don't. And it actually rains about half the time. But it's really great when it happens.
Okay.
Like, it's really fun.
Oh, I'm sure it is. No, and I will definitely go next year. We weren't here, obviously this last year. Yeah. No. No, and I just wanted to, we're talking about costs and everything, and that's what I'm kind of coming back to is what kind of revenue does it get? What kind of show is this? Because, you go up to Denton or you go to these other cities and they have the rodeos, and around it they have everything else going on, but you got to pay to go to the rodeo. That's what I'm trying to understand, the event itself. And
It initially
and
started
it
out
seems
with the
like it could
barbecue cook-off
almost yeah.
that we had for years. Last year, 2 years ago, we were going to have a car show. Brian
did.
was heading up the car show. We were going to have the car show before it got canceled. So we've been trying to change it to get more people to come and enjoy it, just so that there's a different audience. I mean, we've had carnival rides that have been there, and they set up in the flat part of the parking lot.
Right.
And the carnival rides you do pay for.
Okay.
So
Does any funding come to us?
not
No,
usually.
Not from the carnival. Okay.
Katrina, I heard you mention something about gate entrance fees, and we had voted to not collect those entrance fees. So do we need to propose that we change that?
If I recall correctly, we asked to charge, and council said they didn't want us to charge, but I'm not sure where the revenue was. Oh, they do want us to charge.
Yeah, this last budget cycle, yes, they did. They wanted to see some revenue. They didn't expect it to pay for itself. They just wanted to see some sort of revenue coming back in from the event.
Well, because what we had said is we wanted it to be a community event, and because it's such a large event, and that it required us to have 3 different gates, that didn't make sense to try to staff all of that. We wanted that part. I mean, if we wanted, and I think I might not remember right, but it seems like we had suggested that people could pay a small fee for the rodeo, just have one part of it that we have collect fees for instead of having an overall entrance fee.
We've tried it multiple ways. There was charge just period parking carload. That went for a while. That went away because it is very intensive on manpower to operate that. So then it went to gates, and that's kind of been, we've bounced around. We did it for a while, then we didn't do it for a while, then we went back to doing it again. And then the last time around was the idea of possibly just fencing off around the actual rodeo portion of the event, because that's the most expensive part. Everything else is vendor driven. They paying us to be there. So they talked about doing that next time around. Try that. We've never done that one before, just specifically doing that, but that was the last chance that we thought we'd try that.
And in the past too, we've also had alcohol, which we had discussed not having for the next year, but all of that will go into the plan for the next year's event. And we basically will decide how we want to present it.
So right now, going through the budget and approving the budget doesn't approve how we get there.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I want to. I want to make sure I wasn't missing that. That
No,
we're not
exactly.
missing on that dollar
And in the
amount.
past, it has been
Yeah, all of these numbers, I mean, once this goes to council, then they will look, and a lot of it all predicates on how much they decide to transfer to us. That's how everything kind of goes. We have our small incomes over here, but yeah, this is all preliminary. They make the final decisions. They'll look at it. They sometimes will send back and ask that y'all relook at things and change things to meet what they think it should be. because of what they see financially is how much money they've got to spend on everything. They
But we
may-
also have to acknowledge that they're doing budget workshops next
Mhm.
week.
starting next Monday,
Right.
6
So-
o'clock, 3
So what
nights
we
of it.
present to them may not be in stone, but it's what we would like to have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then we're
okay.
gonna,
And if you're very passionate about anything, you show up and so they see, because if they see somebody, they tend to have a little bit more feeling
Well,
about paying for
and a
something.
better understanding of why we want
Mhm.
it.
And they ask questions as to why, and they take it better from y'all than they do from us. We can sit there and talk all day.
Which
Mhm.
nights?
So I
What
would,
nights? What it is,
I would
Melissa?
just like to ask that question because in a prior year, I went to the budget and it was the budget workshop, and the mayor did let me speak, but at first they told me that I couldn't speak because it was a workshop. It was their planning session. That it wasn't something that we could. It wasn't an open forum where people were supposed to, but somebody had told me from the city office that I could, and so I did, and because of that, the mayor did allow me to go ahead and address them.
It's an open meeting for us to at least come and see if they're gonna let us talk. Now, do we need to fill out a form like you fill out to speak at a council meeting? Do we know which day specifically is our budget workshop? Oh, all right. All right. So the reason the line items are kind of here is just sort of an idea of what we spent last week. I don't think we should.
I agree that we shouldn't go any less, but my question is, we're not looking at the revenue. Do we want to leave that $20,000 revenue there? Because then that ties us into really having to get many sponsorships and vendors participating. Although are we allowed to get vendors? Because before, the rodeo guy got all the vendors. Is our contract different now that we can collect?
Last
Right.
year we had said we
Yes.
could do ours.
Yes.
It
So-
is time for a new contract.
So we would have the ability then
You
to
would have that option at this time to do or not do.
okay.
No, it's not a requirement. That's just an estimate. That's just a number they throw out that they kind of thought, well, that sounds like that would be great if we could, but they don't technically expect it. They'd be thrilled if it happened. I'm sure they would be pleasingly surprised if it did happen that well, but they would take anything that they got. No, that's never been its thoughts.
And whether or not we
The
get
real
the-
deal was they were hoping this would drive maybe getting more sponsors. If that's what they're really hoping for, is more people would sponsor the event.
All right. So I think we just leave that one like that and work with our budget. And then for the Independence Day, we had 20,000 from before. Ironically, my note says that we left it at 20,000, but this line says 25. So I say we leave it. Maybe, because the fireworks price went up, right? Yeah. Our fireworks went up quite a bit. So we'll leave that 25 because before it had only been 12,000 and now it's 14,500. So, all right. And then the community outreach, this is kind of where that's broken down. Under the yoga instructor fees are $5,000. The Tai Chi instructor fees are $1,500. And that's what we're paying those people for the year. Then the way we'll look at the contract, the way it is, he gets some. but those are the individual expenses under community outreach, as well as other things. I say leave it the same. Anyone else? And then the live tree fund, we had it 1,500. Agreed to that. And then Hazlet Hustle, that last item. And from my numbers from the year that we did it, we spent about $47.65 total. So if the prices are about the same, that was $22.50 for the chipping, $7.80 for t-shirts, $400 for awards, $100 for snacks, $600 for toilets, and $450 for EMS. And that came up to about $4,800. That's my breakdown of how we came up with that number. So we should probably leave that. I had $440. I think that's what you told us. But all right.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes.
I have a
Well, no, Rick.
I have a question. So, is there nothing? I mean, maybe this is a total different budget, but for just park maintenance, park upgrades, is that a different budget? Do we ever view that budget? So, but our park board fund, we don't pay for any park. I'm just sorry, I'm kind of curious.
No, all the park maintenance funds and all, those are directly through the city's general fund accounts, and they fund and pay those. Capital projects are mostly things that I pick up from y'all and take to them and put on cause like we've talked about, the additional trash cans, the benches with covers and all, those were put into the capital request for the next coming year already. Whether they give them to us, we don't know, but we're at least asking for those.
So any park improvement doesn't ever come to the park board.
We just redid a whole playground set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there are
But
projects
it's not
that
part of the fund, though. I mean, not part of our. We don't allocate any funds.
it's a separate
So we
budget.
just have to send it their way and hope that they pay for it.
If you look at page 10, there's towards that other side where it says city park.
Okay.
There's a beginning resource. And that's the money, the way I understand it from the previous years that I've been on the board, that money comes from house for bill.
Gotcha.
And that's how we got the money to request $185,000.
Okay.
Because we had no money.
Yeah.
And so we were looking for ways to get that money up. And when we saw that fund increasing, then under that park improvement, then we request council to allow us to do those big events. But then we say, we pick a park. So our board voted on a park, went back to kids, talked amongst each others, but then we have to present it to council for approval. This is the park that we like. These are the 3 bids that we have. This is what we do you approve?
Well, and also we had a what's it called? Travis put in a bid for us to get help with that.
Yeah, we apply.
A grant.
We apply
Thank you very
for
much.
grant money, and that is something that y'all make. Y'all actually have to hold the public hearings for those grants and all that, and y'all make those recommendations to council to how those monies are spent.
Okay.
Which we are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason I was asking, because
Yeah, the only
looking
real
at the
one,
budget and the recommendations.
Your city parks
Right.
improvement fund, which is the contribution monies mostly, but it's the money for every new house. For years, it kind of languished there because there wasn't any new housing being built, so it didn't have much money. Now it's starting to grow back up again. Then they got it quite a bit, and were able to spend that one. And as it is now, it's back to spent most of it. Now it's back to growing. It's already grown. I think it's $80,000 or $90,000 already that it's came back.
And isn't it also correct that we can work with, now tell me the name of the committee. It starts with an H and it ends in a B.
HEDC A and HEDC
B.
B.
The B committee, from what I have learned more recently that they are about helping design things that are funding things that build quality of life. And so that they're a good partner with this board as well, because they make recommendations to the city council based on their the funding. So it's like they are actually paying for part of the tennis court.
Yeah, that board is, they have a lot of power and they have a lot of money because theirs is a 1/4 cent sales tax that they bring in. So they usually have a pretty good fund to spend. And they are usually, from here, that's one of the first places we usually take projects, is because, one, they're easier to get through than even the city council is, because they usually have some funds and they love doing this kind of stuff. This is their kind of thing, is improving anything to do with the community. They can put their money into anything just about, but they really do like doing. They were the ones that helped pay for lighting of the park. They've helped pay for a number of added things to the parks over the years. So they're always a good one to go to.
All right, can I make my motion? Are you ready? I move that our proposed 2022 proposed budget have adjustments on the Christmas in the Park from 15,000 to 20,000, Easter egg hunt from 3,000 to 3,500. So that will bring our total budget request for 2022 to $121,269, if I did my math right.
I'd like to second that.
Matt,
Yeah, yes.
I agree.
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 Motion passes to present the adopted budget with those few changes to council, please. I was going to point out, Chris, that on page 9, it shows at the top, sort of in bolded letters, Park Board Fund 4. And then on the back, there's a Fund 15 and a Fund 55. And that used to confuse me a lot between the different fund numbers. But yeah, so we get to make recommendations for Fund number 4. And then under the Veterans Memorial Fund, we requested that, I believe 2 years ago, was the Veterans to add it as its own separate fund when the Lions Club closed in Haslett, and we wanted to keep their money moving, helping with the Memorial Garden. All right. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to go to 8, please. Any discussion on Nance Field?
Things are rocking. Things been going as far as we know. We haven't had any problems up there this year. At HSA's been holding practices and stuff as far as we know with no problems.
And then on Firehouse Field, Chris, you said you had some information that you wanted.
Yeah, so I put in a records request to get the agreement that we talked about last time, and I haven't received it yet. But I did find from a city council meeting, February 19, they had it in their agenda note. 19 February of 2019. And on section 5A, it says the city shall maintain all parking, athletic, and other recreational facilities within the priority use area, including mowing, watering, and emptying of trash barrels and dumpsters. Which brings me to a couple things. Number one, the gated area. To me, that sounds like we're responsible for everything there. That's what that contract sounds to me like. The only thing that it shows that they are responsible for is giving it, are their scoreboards, and giving us how much they've spent or what they're using the money on, and laying the dirt anything over 40 yards. So other than that, it looks to me that we have the responsibility of the maintaining of all that fence area.
That's still a good comment.
Well, this is actually the one that they had in there is from 2017. It can be revoked at any time, 60 days. So it can be written in a 60-day time frame. But that goes for any of the HSA parks.
That's probably, I think they have another one since then, but, yeah, no, as far as taking care of water and mowing the grass and all that is us. What they're talking about, like the gates, those were put in for them at their request, to keep their own people from driving behind the baseball field. And cause they were scared of the kids as they walk across that driveway to the portable restroom,
Well, and that's,
people hitting them.
yeah, and no, I agree with that. My thing is having a walk path through there. That's where I'm getting at. And if we're responsible for the facilities within the priority use area, then wouldn't that include us making that walkway?
There's nothing that stops you from walking through there now that I know of. The
Big
gates
metal-
are only 2 gates. There's no fence that goes from them that blocks everything that I know of.
Yeah, there's a big metal bar that holds the gates, and it's backed up right next to the fence.
So this is what I would envision. I
Drive
don't know.
around.
I haven't been out there. So is that maybe a section of the fencing could be taken down, not the gate. The gate could remain locked, but next to the locked gate, there could be some fencing taken down, another pole added, so that there's a 6-foot section or maybe a section wide enough to drive your lawnmower through. But not a car, not wide enough for a car. But then are you going to have motorcycles and scooters and things like that on the field?
Well, you're certainly not going to have a wheelchair.
Right.
Promise you that. Yeah,
Do you happen to have a picture of it? Because I'm trying to picture out what it looks like.
I don't think I do.
No, but as far as, requesting anything to make anything like that, that's just a simple request from the board to city council that we
And
want to
that's what I want to
add a gate, whatever it is you
bring
wish
up,
to add.
yeah.
That's from y'all.
Yeah.
Maybe you could word that motion since you have been out there and you kind of know. Right.
Because basically what we'd want to do, if you really want to move forward with it, we would go down, we'd kind of get a rough idea of what it would cost, and also because usually if you want to go to council with it, you want to have pricing as, a good, decent estimate, because that's the first thing they ask, well, how much is this going to cost us? That's the first thing they always want to know. Significant request.
Mm-hmm. been it's a couple of times we went over there and we've had to go around to get our friend in the ballpark. So, and that's just that, and I mean, the parking period. Just getting someone ADA around there is
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong. That's a good request. You know, it has been mentioned in the past to council. They haven't been very receptive to doing much pavement back there, but we're asking again for pavement this year, in hopes to at least get the parking area and the driveway paved, something. That's been a request. It would be a capital request to provide ADA accessibility to the playing fields at Fire Station Field.
That was my next question. Even if there were an opening next to that barred gate, what's the groundwork like?
Oh, it's still tough, but it's a lot easier than trying to go.
Well, you can't get over the gate, right?
Yeah, no, it's so basically, and I encourage everybody to go out there and just to look at what a lot of people see in surrounding areas of Hazlet. But go down there and you'll see that there's a little road, and it comes up to the gate, and it's kind of a drop off on both sides. So it's grass right there, but it's rock just going inside the gate. But right wherever the closest spot for an 88 person to park or anybody to park is a big dumpster. So you have to go through the dumpster, around the dumpster to the gate. I just encourage everybody to take a look.
I just, as much excitement as we got when we made this park, the Gamble Playground, accessible to everybody, and when you see an adult put a wheelchair back in their car and know that they got to do that. So I understand completely where you're coming from, and I think we need to make a project out of that. So let's put it on our action items for next month.
Yes, please.
Can you show me where the firehouse is for reference? I'm sorry. But where's the fire station? I gotta picture this one. Oh, it's way over there. Okay, all right, thank you. I feel like that master plan blocked some of the other plans because everyone was waiting for that master plan that didn't grow.
And the parking lot is So when you say what kind of, what are you going to put down?
For an old county road, they shoot it and put down gravel over the top of it. And break it up. Yeah. Schoolhouse Road is a multi.
Hmm. But it's almost paved.
It's a lot cheaper. It's asphalt going to for anywhere from
So I have a question specifically about this gate, because when I was out there, it's been more than a year, obviously, there was no gate there. And so I drove out there and drove out by the fields, and it wasn't a problem. So if you're saying that there's a gate without a
It's
walk-through pass, how does somebody get in if it's locked? I thought it was locked. I feel like that was the whole reason this came up, is because someone went to get in and that gate was locked, so they couldn't get their people through.
It was shortly after.
Oh, that's right.
Talking in here. When we went to a game and it was locked, and it may have just been those few times, but because they only had 4 times we played this year because of the way they did COVID this year. But 2 of those times it was locked. But yeah. And yeah, the gate, I get that.
Yeah, we don't mind the gate. We just want it to be open for people to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the time that it was unlocked, everybody's parked back there. So yeah, no, I get it. Right. Yeah.
So how do we make the motion for that? Where do we need to?
I think the capital improvement is for the pavement, if we wanted to ask them to approve pavement. But if we want to get a hole in the gate right now, we can just ask. It'll be a request, and if David can go move it, next meeting, if it doesn't work, then we can try a different approach.
Do we need to make a motion to request? All right. We can't have an, okay.
So I'd like to go back then to 4B to allow our board members to make any further motions on 4B in case they want to make a capital improvement.
And do we have a line item?
Request for ADA accessibility. Yes. Yeah, I can do that one. While they're working on that let's, under B, can I make a recommendation to add a footpath access area temporarily to the firehouse field? If David is able to secure that easily. Recommendation. Oh, a footpath, like a wheelchair footpath, just an access.
A hole in the fence.
A hole in the fence. I'm asking for a hole in the fence. Well, this one's just footpath. This one's not ADA. I just want a footpath. I'd like to make a recommendation for a footpath access. I'm jumping to 8, sorry. I'm just making a temporary request, making a recommendation to allow a footpath break in that fence that's already there for the time being. And we don't have to vote on that because it's just our recommendation, correct? Okay, so that's our consensus as a board's recommendation. Okay, so that's 8B. All right, and then do we have any motions under the?
I'd like to make a
request?
motion that we revisit the budget for 2022
Okay.
to add an item.
I did. We went back to 4B. Under 4B, we're revisiting the Go ahead. We just made a recommendation for a hole in the gate. That's it. In the meantime, it's not even related to the other, it's not related to 4B. That was just an 8 recommendation.
All right, I'd like a motion to add ADA accessibility parking lot driveway to the firehouse fields on the capital improvement budget.
I second.
All in favor? No one opposes that motion. To
Do we have
amend 4B,
Do we have an amount? in mind?
recommendation for adding to the budget. Adding a request, yeah. No, correct, we're adding a request to the budget.
Well, and can you come up with a dollar amount to request, since we're here, we have no idea what.
Well, would this just be beginning the project?
Okay. Under anything else about Firehouse Field unofficially, not unofficially, anything else about Firehouse Field? Any more recommendations or any other concerns? Do we have anything else besides the gate there? All right.
I do just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So can volunteers work on that field?
It's possible. They have to request to do it because of insurance stuff. But
Mhm.
yes, it's been done before.
Okay.
HSA basically does that now as a
Mm.
volunteer group.
Yeah. kind of.
Sometimes they do good and get a good group. Sometimes it's one person shows up.
And
But
that's not just for. I mean, well, I know we've had volunteers on, out here in the other parks, but just wondering. So is that the procedure for all parks? Is just
they
get approval
want to
and-
have because they want to have know who it is.
Okay.
And I think that we still have the form. We used to have a volunteer form specific to the parks. I'd have to look to see if I could find it again.
Well, and Barbara and Cindy are gonna.
I
Okay.
think there's. I
That
think
might
we
fall
have
under
one.
the form Barbara and Cindy are gonna work on to get volunteer groups to come in. And we can
Yeah.
just probably include that in there to somehow include the actual, all the different parks.
That would be. I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll shoot y'all. I have that on my list to shoot y'all an email about some of that stuff too, helping you guys. So, all right, thank you. That was it.
Okay, and then at Gamble Park, do we have any updates on the trash cans? Do we get more trash cans, or do we need to request that? Do we need to?
It's already in a request right now
Okay.
so starting next week, but we'll see how far they go with it.
Sure.
But we've got that in as a request. We're actually asking for funding to help with weekend trash pickup. We're asking for, like I said, the shaded benches and trash cans for that park. That's one of our biggest things as far as parks next year request wise for capital project.
I tell you what, there isn't a time I go by there, and I live a block away, so I see it all the time, that it isn't full of kids and parents. So we did well on that one.
Yeah, it surprises me. I mean, it slows down a little bit because on the days it's finally getting hot. But I mean, in the mornings, it's a madhouse sometimes over there. There's so many show up at one time.
Okay, and then Community Park, did we get the pickleball courts restriped? Are we still working on that?
We've been
Short
we,
staff.
yeah, it's been so much fun.
So we're
but
still
we
working
do-
on pickleball repainting.
Yeah, but I guess this is where I can talk a little bit about the tennis courts.
Yes.
Are going. Of course, since we don't have an engineer anymore, they are going to since they approved an interim engineering firm last night.
What does that mean?
They will be our engineering firm till
Oh, an engineering firm.
what?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a firm. They will be doing engineering for us till the end of this fiscal year, so the next few months.
Who's the firm?
Belchef and Associates out of Keller. Yeah. They're in Keller.
So
But
they're going to
since-
design our tennis
So
court for
now,
us?
yeah, that's the next thing is to move to design.
How long do they know how long that?
Don't know. We get to talk to them tomorrow about that. That's
Okay.
one of.
Oh,
They
okay.
approved the contract last night,
Okay.
and we've been sending them all these things. And tomorrow is supposed to be one of the ones I'm supposed to be talking to them about. Is okay because I'm sure it will probably be one of the junior engineers. Probably will get this project, but yeah,
I did have a brief informal conversation with the mayor and offered to be available to review. One thing that I noticed that in one of the documents that it began to be referred to as tennis courts, and it had a reference in it for shaded junior courts, and that is not what this board approved and presented to the other boards. The shaded lines are supposed to be for pickleball court. It is supposed to be a multi-tennis and pickleball. And so if you'll help make sure that message doesn't get lost.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. All right. So nothing else in community park anyone wants to address? Oh yeah.
What's the status on that? Seems like they've been there forever.
Can I express a community concern as a citizen? When they redo that road, the walking path, because it's pretty bad, are they going to redo it where the tennis court is going? Like, are we going to do that twice? Are they going to fix it and then us tear it up to make room for the tennis court? Or can we maybe save some money and time and resources and not do that twice?
No, they will make these guys, that's what they have to do. They got to put back the way it was when they came in per their contract. And then when that other gets going, then we will be doing that as a separate project.
Okay.
Oh, no, at the rate they've been going, I will be happy if they're out of there within the next 3 months. I know they say they're about, they call it at about 90% right now. So, and it's taking them forever to get to 90. So this last 10%, I know when it comes to final grade, picking up rocks, cleaning up a site, that takes longer sometimes than the entire project does sometimes. It is just super, super slow. Of course, that's when we go out and gripe at them a lot too, because we don't like what they did.
Because we're in still on Community Park and Gamble Park, what happened, or do we need to do anything to revisit that draft of the contract for park reservations? Okay. So we don't need to make a request to City Council to consider that? Okay. Thank you.
Anything different on the Veterans Memorial Garden? Okay.
I'm gonna question.
Yeah.
The looking pretty bad over there, the Veterans Memorial. Can we get some eyes on that to get it cleaned up? Is it a volunteer project?
An ongoing struggle we have, which is why we switched it out to that rock stuff. It's way better than it.
Yeah. Okay. Did they? Okay. All right. Thank you.
We usually get it cleaned up really nice and redone before the veterans ceremonies that we have.
There's a local Boy Scout troop, so if you have a Boy Scout troop that you'd like to volunteer on another one, we're willing to take you too.
Well, I can probably get some boys down there to help me clean it up. So. Okay. Is that something I could come to you about? If I have some volunteers? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone has, I don't know what y'all's involvement is with high school groups, but I'm always willing to sign off on their volunteer sheets. So when we have volunteers at Christmas in the park and things like that, the high school students will come in.
Some of them can still get it. My daughter's looking for volunteer hours, so we can.
Under my way, and I'll sign.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Next park board meeting will be August 11th, regular second Wednesday of the month, and we will adjourn at 8:57.
This conference is no longer being recorded.